The views and opinions expressed by participants in the following public affairs program do not necessarily reflect the position or beliefs of WDEF or its staff.
This is Point of View, celebrating a world record-breaking 62 years of quality public affairs programs from the studios of WDEF News 12, Chattanooga. Hello and welcome to Point of View. I'm Maurice Lewis. Politics, term limits, promises made, and debts unpaid. I know you think you heard what I said, but what I said was not what I really meant. We saw a good example of that the other night for the presidential debates. Well, we have local elections too, and what's more important than all politics are local? And Ruth, today we have two examples of wannabe and can be.
Thanks, Maurice.
We'd like to welcome Dennis Clark to the show. Thank you for
Ruth,
coming.
for having me.
Thank
Absolutely.
you, Melody Shikari.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for being here.
Absolutely.
When I say wannabe, it's because you want to be a part of something.
That's
you want
right.
to be the change. And I know when you ran for office here locally for the House of
That's right.
Representatives, you said that you wanted to be part of the change.
That's right. You know, we believe that if you want to see change, you got to be the change. And so you got to stand up, and you got to sometimes put yourself in a position to force that type of change, because no one's giving seats away anymore. So for our generation,
but they
it's
are
almost
buying
like
them.
They are buying them. I don't have the money to buy a seat, or else I probably would have anyway. But
You know, it's the kind of people that have the money to contribute to a campaign.
That's right.
How difficult was it for you to raise money to run against an incumbent?
It's very difficult. We actually did pretty well in our fundraising efforts for my state house race, and it wasn't enough, especially when you're running against someone who has a lot of name recognition, and so you've got to spend a lot of money to close in that gap. And unfortunately, people who want to get involved in this process to be the change, we don't come to the table with a lot of money.
Where are the young professionals in the community, and how come they're not coming out more to support, you know, new candidates, new blood?
Yeah, I think this generation of generosity has changed. You know, my generation of young professionals, we are not givers as our parents were, as being a part of this whole community of philanthropy. And so young professionals are keeping their money. They're not donating to churches, and they're not donating to campaigns as much as they used to.
But Melody, you're part of that younger generation, and you
I
want to
am.
be also part of the change. Term limits would certainly be a big assist, but somehow it just doesn't work, term limits, on the local level.
Right. I think that term limits are a good thing in certain areas, but then you look at a place like California that had term limits, and what happened is politicians would just switch districts with each other, right? Flip it, and then they would run in that other district, and then they would both win. And so you didn't really get real change in your legislative body. And what I think we really need is to start holding our politicians accountable. The House of Representatives, the U.S. House of Representatives, is voted on every 2 years. That was meant to increase the amount of change that we had. I think it was meant to get politicians a little run down, so they didn't want to be raising money every other year, basically. But right now, we have a system where people are getting really frustrated with it.
Yeah.
They aren't getting out to vote. And when you have 30, 40% voting rates in some parts of where we live, then that's a really big problem, because is that person really representing everyone? And are they talking about, oh, well, I represent this political party, and those are the only people I'm really going to talk to?
Well, what are you going to change? Because we have someone that was, you know, been elected 3 times.
Right.
What's the difference with Melody Shikari?
Well, I think we need some change in that body. The polls in Tennessee show that the congressional approval rating is, 11%, maybe a little bit higher than that at times, and a little bit lower at times. And that's here, that's not nationally. So we need someone that's going to go in there and actually do something in Congress. It's not enough to say the hot topic keywords that you think are going to get voters. A lot of people in our area are tired of someone who just talks and doesn't take action.
Well, one of the things that strikes me, as a freshman congressman, you really have no power.
No power.
But what I haven't heard candidates say is, listen, for my first term there, I won't be able to do an awful lot. I will be able to talk to other members of Congress and use my persuasive powers.
And that's exactly what I am very good at doing. And building relationships and networks very quickly, especially as a freshman congressperson, is really important. one of the things that I talk about a lot are these agencies that have these innovative funds for pilot projects that can be used definitely here and in some of the rural areas in our district. You have to have a connection to that agency. I've heard from a couple of different people when I wrote a grant for the Department of Transportation that it's never going to get considered because no one's talking about Chattanooga up in DC. Well, to me, that's an easy fix. You got to go up there and advocate for your district so that when those opportunities do come up, we're on the short list. Right. They are ready to hear our ideas because in my opinion and a couple of other people's opinions, we were one of the best spots to have that kind of smart city application of a grant.
Well, if you get elected, what are you going to change and are you going to side with your party or are you going to side, with the country?
Well, I always say that any politician who votes along party lines completely on either party is probably not representing their district very well, especially this district. I mean, we have 11 counties. 2 are pretty urban, the rest are pretty rural, and that means that you're going to fall on different sides of issues, and it's not going to be completely party line.
Well,
and
Dennis,
so,
excuse me.
Go ahead.
But Dennis, you have the opportunity, having run an election, run for office, you know what it's like out there. It can be very rough and tumble.
Absolutely.
And now with the Clark Company, you're in a position to give some advice.
That's right. So prior to me running for my seat, I consulted with several current and, as you call them, wannabe elected officials. And right now, my company is consulting with some city council candidates, which is the upcoming race after Melanie's race and the presidential race in November. We have our city council and mayoral races coming up in March of 2017. So we specialize in helping candidates prepare and fundraise, and I guess it kind of helps kind of going through it, losing a race. You learn a lot when you lose.
Let me pick up on that. What did you learn?
Wow.
Great question.
That's a great question. I feel like I'm on like the therapy couch.
Well, trust me, you can afford our rates. Okay?
You know what? Losing for me really isn't losing. What you do, you learn how to come back and win again. That's what winners are about. You never lose in the first round. It's like politics is like boxing. You may get knocked out in the first round, but you go back into training to hopefully have the opportunity to win again. So that's what I tell my clients: when you lose, just look at it as an opportunity to learn.
So when you go into training and you do lose, but you learn, what's the next step? Say like Melody, if you run and you don't win, what are you still going to do to be active in politics?
I'm definitely going to support other candidates, encourage other women and minorities to run. That was a big reason why I ran, is that there weren't a lot of examples of people that looked like some of the members of our community. And a lot of people said, well, I can't run. Only a certain type of person wins these races, and we're not even trying to win races. And so that was a huge problem for me. Young women in general represent, less than 20% of a lot of legislative bodies. We have 1 city councilwoman out of 9. And then for young women, the numbers are almost 0. And I wanted to be the example to step up and say, well, if I can do this without coming from a political family, without having $1 million in the bank, without having a lot of the things that we typically think a politician should have, that we can prove that, you can do things a different way.
And we're talking about diversity.
Yes.
The lack of here in the city. As a transplant, I keep seeing that. What's the plan for that?
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. She talks about women being represented in these legislative bodies. It's even worse for African Americans, from where our districts are very gerrymandered. In the city of Chattanooga, African Americans used to hold 13 seats. Because of county-wide races and for whatever way the districts have been drawn, African Americans, we lost the public defender's office. We lost all of our county seats. And so the representation for African Americans in Hamilton County is diminishing rapidly.
Let me push back on that for African Americans, because there's everybody sprinkled in this little pot. I would suspect, to answer the question here, it's all about your message. If your message is resonating, it shouldn't matter the color of the people there if you are really motivating them, and that's the key, to come out to vote with the promise that you've listened to what they have to say.
I mean, I think no matter what, we need different faces and different backgrounds at the table. don't think it needs to be all of the seats, but I think we need to have them there because we know that the conversation changes, the tone changes, everything changes when you have the right people and the right representation in the room for these policy discussions.
But to go back to your question about diversity, and I know this topic gets so convoluted and so heavy in the South.
It does.
Particularly amid a presidential race where it seems to be this conversation again about how race tensions are so high. Again, we do live in a society where a lot of people don't like to see a lot of different faces in different places culturally.
Well, but that's the point. You don't ask for permission, you build your case.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like they're going to do that. In terms of building a case, a lot of promises were made and facts were thrown around, some of them actual, some of them not factual, in the presidential debate. Quickly, what was your opinion, each of you, as you either watched or listened?
I was really moved by a couple different points, but one of the biggest, and the one I actually saw the least of in social media, was when the host, the moderator asked, what do you have to say to people of color? And one of the candidates says, I say nothing. Right. And I thought, that is not, I don't think you have to have the right answer, but you have to be able to talk about the challenges that we have.
I'll be a little bit more.
Sure, go ahead. More direct.
She's on a ballot in November, so she can be a little PC.
Everything she can't say.
Right, everything she can't say, so I'll bring it home for you.
No, go ahead, please.
I think the conversation is clear. Donald Trump has unfortunately pandered to a particular group of people that the Clintons describe as deplorables. And so what has happened...
You buy that?
I do buy it. I don't think that all of Donald Trump's supporters are deplorable people. I know a lot of Republicans who are not supporting Donald Trump, who are my friends, who cannot be a part of that level of rhetoric when it comes to racial conversations, and he panders to that. And I think during the presidential debate, we saw that. He blatantly asked questions about what do you have to say to people of color, of African Americans. I say nothing.
I'm going to have to pull you up here, but Melanie, give you the last word because you need to have people come out.
Yes.
To the polls.
And I think we need to remember that I'm running against someone who believes in the things that Trump says, that has openly supported him.
You can't mention his name, and the reason why he's not here is because he didn't ask to be here. You guys asked to be here, and that's why you're here. So, Chuck Fleischman, if you're listening, the phone number is easy to find.
Invite us both. I think it'd be great. But, I think we need someone that's going to stand up and say, I'm sorry, we can't have our country led by someone who's racist, who's misogynistic, who lies minutes after saying something on television. This is just not what we need to lead our country. And, I agree, someone who's supporting him is implicitly saying that they think that that's what we need. And I just cannot sit by and watch that happen.
And what the world really needs now is more love. And you can find that right here on Point of View. How? We have a terrific chef. His name is Gerard Wells. He is the chef of love. So join Donna Christian Lowe and Nikki Nickerson when Point of View continues.
Join us for Point of View, weekends on News 12 Now.
Did you know kids who play outdoors have healthier lungs?
Totally.
Did you know that boys that play with dolls make better husbands?
My son has lots of dolls. But did you know terry cloth diapers breathe better?
I did.
It's totally true.
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys know statistically friendly kids have more friends?
Yeah.
That's obvious.
Did you know most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right seat. Visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat to make sure your child is protected.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today on Point of View. I'm Donna Christian Lowe, your host for today, and my co-host today is Nikki Nicholson, and we have none other than the Chef of Love, a.k.a. Gerard Wells, the chef. How are you today?
I am good, and hello, ladies.
Hello. We are excited to have you here, and you know this, right?
Yes, I can feel the love all in the air.
We got it. We got
see the love.
We got some Facebook fans who wanted to be here, but we're going to jump right into what we're doing here. Now, when I said, or we talked about this, what's love got to do with it theme, and you said shrimp, we all said what?
Absolutely.
So jump in, let's go.
And you'll be amazed that the dish that we're preparing today is actually called Skinny Dipping Shrimp Cocktail. So see, the name is already paired with love.
Yeah, what's love got to do with it? It all makes sense.
Yes, and the funny thing about this particular dish, when I created it, it's out of my latest book, 88 Ways to a Heart, Cooking for Lovers.
Is that the book we have here?
Yes, it is. But what I wanted to do was design 88 love recipes that were unique in bringing relationships together, whether you're on the first date, a seasoned veteran in marriage, whatever the case may be, these are dishes that encourage us to work together.
What inspired this?
Actually,
what inspired your 88 Ways? You had to, hey.
The funny thing is, what inspired the 88 Ways was, during the time when I wrote the book, I had been married 8 years, and me and my wife had 8 kids. Oh. So, and over the course of that the 8 years that we've been married, I had prepared and created 88 unique recipes.
Beautiful.
And so that's what tailored and brought it all to life.
Well, now,
beautiful.
What we want the viewers to know is just how big you are. Now, we know because we've done our research, but I've got a list here because I had to make a list for this. Paula Dean in Chattanooga, you helped with her event.
Yes.
You went on to the Patrick Clark Award, Bermuda International Love Festival, Tyler Perry.
Yes.
Lady Antebellum.
Yes.
Lifetime with the Nanny.
Yes, Super Nanny on Lifetime, yeah.
How
That was
did
a
you go
real
there?
adventure.
Okay, but then it goes all the way to your latest success. Now, you were Cutthroat Kitchen star twice. Nikki, I don't think anybody has been a star twice on that show. Am I right?
Chef
Absolutely,
Bernard,
one twice.
Chef.
Exactly, and
The
you know
Love
what?
Chef.
I think it's time to make you guys a
Yes.
star too. So
Okay.
while we're chatting, because you know it's all about doing everything together,
And
I
I'm
want
in
you
the
to start
kitchen.
dicing that tomato up. And then for you, Donna,
Yes.
I want you actually to start dicing the serrano pepper up. And I know you know a thing about dicing too, because we didn't spend time in the kitchen before.
Yes, we have.
So,
Yes, we have.
So trust me.
So
And then as I understand, Miss Nikki here, she's supposed to be a bad woman in the kitchen herself.
I'm pretty bad. I'm pretty bad. I'm good
Now,
in the kitchen.
Let's talk about your last stop on the national scene. You just won Winner Up for the Food Network Star, and you were all over the place, nationally and internationally. Tell us about that.
Yes. Food Network Star, the coolest thing about it, over 50 million views a week. Went all the way to the end, and I claimed the spot as the runner-up, which is a very hard thing to do, but a great thing to do for me. And it was just really just showing the world who I was.
Wow.
And that's what that was always my goal from the jump, because coming up here, I spent many of my years here in Chattanooga, and that's where my career really took off.
So let's talk about Chattanooga. Now, if you were in the paper once...
As you dice those, toss them in here. You dice those, toss them in
I
here.
will. I believe you were in the paper at least 20 times, and on the front page.
Absolutely.
You don't make it to the front page when you're small time. So how does Chattanooga, how we embrace you?
You know, with being a transplant from Chattanooga, that was one of the greatest accomplishments to see
Does this
Chattanooga.
go into?
Yes, that's the cilantro. You want to mince it up. To see, and what you want to do is actually twist it.
Oh, you didn't tell me that,
yes,
Chef. Hang on.
You twist it.
Like
Twist
this?
it. Yes.
Why am I
Does it
And
bruise
then-
it? Does it make the
Actually,
flavors come out more?
it helps you dice your stems and get
I
everything
see.
small, so as you
Oh,
saute
okay.
it breaks it down more.
Okay.
There you go.
Teach
That
us.
is big.
But yes, these are colossal shrimp, which is
Okay.
a cool thing for this dish. But one of the things with being recognized by Chattanooga, I thought was a great milestone here, because I wanted people to know that not only was I a chef that was on national TV, but I was a chef representing the city.
Yes.
From a minority standpoint, and then from a people standpoint, I wanted them to know that I didn't just make it, we as a city made it.
Yes. I like
And that's
that.
what I wanted people to see and understand. I wasn't just doing it for me and my family. You know, I got a large family.
You
But
do.
I was doing it for every person that has a dream and a desire to be more in life, and show them regardless of the odds they could.
Speaking of it being a dream of yours, how long has this been your dream? When did you start this journey?
You'll be amazed. I started this journey when I was 8 years old. Yeah, that's getting ready to
8
come.
years old?
8 years old is when I started the journey of working with my...
Can I stir?
Yes, you can. That's a great idea. My father was a chef, and
Okay.
my father actually became disabled at a young age, and the biggest thing was he felt that... Yeah, keep going.
Keep going, okay, you gotta
He
Cook it in the kitchen.
yes, and then go ahead and toss those green onions in there. But one of the things, when he became disabled because he was a diabetic, he couldn't work anymore. So all he did every day was cook. But to him, he felt he was less than a man, but he didn't realize how I admired him and how it weighed so much in my life. My father passed away on my 16th birthday, and I had $50 from cutting yards. and I came up with the bright idea. I wanted to open up a restaurant out of my mother's kitchen. 16.
That was a good idea, I would say so now.
Pitched the idea to
Entrepreneur at the age of 16.
And she laughed about it, but she agreed to it. And lo and behold, took that $50 and turned it to $3,000 a month selling food out of my mother's kitchen at the age of 16.
So that takes me to the next question. Some of our viewers ask questions. We put a contest out there. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But a lot of the viewers wanted to know.
This one right here.
You want to dice this too?
Yes.
They wanted to know, what did he do to get there? What were the challenges?
Losing them.
So I'm going to say this, from an entrepreneur standpoint, from a minority,
There you go.
9 kids.
That's good right
Chef, you had a lot of challenges, as some would see it. So what were a couple of challenges so the viewers can see, hey, it didn't come easy, because it does look easy on TV.
Yeah, it does, and our job is to make it look easy, but the thing is just a slice. That's all I need.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's it.
Look, see, I'm not good in the kitchen. You're teaching me.
But
This is beautiful.
what
I
I
wish
want you
they
to
could
do,
see it
Nikki,
right now.
here,
Pretty.
is take this other one, and just like a margarita, we're going around the rim of the glass. Just,
smells so
just squeeze around the rim.
So
But
those
yeah,
challenges, what would a couple
it
of challenges?
was, you know, and the biggest thing with the challenges, that's what we want, just to get that flame and cook soft
Yes.
flavor,
Oh,
leave
okay.
the essence
Yes.
of the alcohol in it.
hair,
The biggest challenge was being a small-time guy that no one knew who I was, and having to build a name. And that's with any business.
Endurance,
Yeah,
right?
and that's the biggest key, regardless of what goes on in your life. It's about never stopping, never letting what people think or say determine anything that takes place in your life. And trust me, I had a lot of stumbling blocks, a lot of hurdles.
Sure.
But the thing is, and with building a big family along the way, and that's really what kept motivating me.
Well,
and
so I don't mean to jump in, but we've got to get some viewer questions in. So
Yeah,
I'm going to get
thanks.
Nikki to get her phone. But next time we have you here, we need to set up an audience
see
here,
it type-
because we had people who wanted to come here and be a part, and they thought we were going to sell tickets.
Yes.
So I think they were disappointed. But our first question comes from Shay McCowan. All right, she's here in Chattanooga. She says, "Hello, Chef Jenard. How would you cultivate passion for cooking in a child? Are there places or activities they can get involved?" You have
Yeah.
9 kids.
I do. And,
I've seen them on social media.
and I always like to relay it back to my father's standpoint, to see if that is something that a child loves. Start them at home cooking with you, because guess what? We lost one, but guess what? It only builds the relationship between you two. Because see how we're here talking and we're working in the kitchen? That's the best time to do it with your children, is because that helps the children get more comfortable with talking to you about
So do you just
anything.
do it naturally in the evening, bring your kids in, or
Yes.
do you suggest?
Even in the morning time, right before they're off to school, I bring them in the kitchen and actually let them cook with me in the kitchen, preparing whatever their lunch or their breakfast is. I use it as a great icebreaker.
Okay.
And what it does is it opens up the doors to teach your child to eat, teach your child to eat healthy. At the same time, whatever's going on in their day, just like if you were talking with your spouse, guess what? We're talking about it over food. And it's a great builder, because you're working with your hands, and people open up more when they work with their hands, just like when we talk with our hands. So you find out more of those things. So I would suggest starting them off in the kitchen.
Okay, so we got another question, Nikki.
Yes,
Who's
I have
from?
a question. Now, this question comes all the way from Virginia. He's another author. He's a New York bestseller. He says, "Hello, Chef. Do you do meal preps as well? If so, how do you do it so you don't have to raid the same dish for 5 days, and so food doesn't go bad before you can even eat it?"
Actually, the biggest thing, and hello to you as well, Chef, the biggest thing for meal preps is only portion what you know that you're going to eat for that day. And what you do is you can take the same dish and you can transform it so many different ways, because you know when you buy it in the kitchen, they're going to get it big. So you break it down, and you may marinate this one in this herbs, or these spices are liquid, and this one and that one, and you just keep it all separate, and you only portion what you know that you're going to eat for that day.
Okay. So now we want to make sure we get some information out there, and it is easy to find you. I encourage our viewers, just Google your name, first of all. But what's the website?
ChefJenard.com.
What's the Twitter?
Chef Jannard.
What's the Facebook?
Chef
So
Jannard.
if they get it wrong, they really weren't looking for you anyway,
Exactly.
right? So let's talk about what's coming up for Chef Jannard. You've got a lot going on.
Okay, what I have coming up soon is I'll be in St. Simon. As a matter of fact, this upcoming weekend I'll be at the Southern Women's show in Birmingham, Alabama, doing the show. So I invite all my Chattanoogas to come out and hang with me. The weekend after that, I'll be in St. Simon's Island, Georgia, taking over the island with their spirit and food festival that they have going on. And then from there, off to New York and a couple of other places in between.
But we got to get you back here.
Absolutely.
And when we do, we got to bring that wifey. Now, I got to jump in real quick with her. What is her favorite dish? What is Keena's favorite dish?
Keena's favorite dish actually is Chipotle smoked pork chops.
Does she make it or do you?
I make it, of course.
Does
You
that
know,
dish
anybody's
keep you out
favorite
the
dish is the dish
doghouse?
they don't have to cook.
Does that dish keep you out the doghouse?
Actually, I would have to say it does. And the funny thing is, that was the first dish I cooked when I met her. And it goes back to the whole food and love and how it ties in. When you first meet somebody, what's the first thing you know them to ask them? A guy asks them, can I take you out to dinner?
Can I take you out?
Yes, that's it. Everything centers, the cornerstone of conversations and relationships comes down to food. I think about all the different entities in our city. Chattanooga Connected was on here last week. They sit down over dessert conversation to talk about race issues.
Yes.
There's a new group coming up in Chattanooga, collard greens and cornbread, to talk about race.
Yes.
So it is great. So if Chattanooga wants to get behind you and support you, or they want to book you for something, how do they get in touch with you?
ChefJannard.com, that my agent, all the information is on there. Comes right to my phone, his phone. I'm easy to reach. As I say, I'm just a phone call or email away. Because one of the things is the city that stood behind me, I stand behind them as well, and I wanted the world to know that. And that's a great builder with food and the barrier of breaking through, because you know food is at the focal of everything.
Are we going to grab these to eat real quick before we
Absolutely,
leave?
ladies, yes. By all means,
Nikki, I think we did good.
Yes,
and I know, see, look, I brought folks for you, ladies.
All right. So, Chef, we thank you for coming. Nikki and I are glad that you're part of this today. Thank you. Chattanooga thanks you. And now, join us next week on Point of View for Stop the Madness and Latino Heritage Month.
Closed captioning provided by the following.
Funding for this program is brought to you by Barnett & Company, specializing in tax-efficient strategies